Hello again, it's Tuppence. It's Froggy Friday. It's time for another frog. I'm using the same mould that I broke, and I've fixed it using a little bit of super glue, and it seems to have worked bonding this together. So I want to see if this holds up when I demold it or if the resin will stick to it. We'll find out. I've got some turquoise chips which I got from Amazon. I'm going to use some UV resin by Resin to fix these in the bottom. I was thinking of maybe mixing them with the resin and then pouring them in, but I want these to be separated, so I'm going to place them individually. So I put a blob of the UV resin in the bottom and I'm just going to spread that out, and then I can lay my chips down. Let's try and find some that have flat edges. I kind of want to make mosaic with some gaps in between because I'm planning on putting some glitter behind these, and I really would like it to show through the gaps so that these look like individual spots. So I'm going to place them in the bottom, and as I say, try and find some flat edges. I haven't got too much UV resin in there, just enough hopefully to stick them. You zoom in a little bit so you get a better angle. And you can see that I am leaving a gap between them. Once I've got these in place, I'm going to pop them on my lamp. If I can ever pick this up. You know what I'm like with tweezers. I'm going to pop this on my lamp, which is next to me, and cure it just enough to hold them in place. And once I have them all added, then I'll pop it on the lamp and cure it for a good 5 minutes before I add the next layer of resin. So I'm just going to fuss with these. Right, I'm going to cure that now before I add the next layer. Right, that layer is now stuck down and I can work around it now. I'm going to add some more UV resin, try and pick out some stones that are flat and start building up around this. And these center stones will be able to support them and stop them from sliding back down into the middle. So this is going to take some time to do this. I've sped it up a little bit, and I'm going to pop some music on. Now for the next step. I've mixed up 30 mils of craft resin, and I've got this gorgeous chunky glitter, and I got this from Amazon. I'll put links to as many of the products as I can find in the description box below, so do check that. I'm not going to be using any kind of glue or anything to stop this from sinking. In fact, I do want it to sink down to that surface, but I am going to pack this with glitter. So I'm just going to start heaping spoonfuls in. It's so pretty, and it's a huge tub. I think you get about 5.6 ounces. So I think we'll try that first. Tap as much as I can off my stick. I'm going to mix that in, and if I can see a lot of the resin, just once I've let this sit, if I can see a lot of the resin on the surface, then I'm going to add a little bit more glitter. And I can, so I'm going to tip some more in. And just a bit more, there you go. And then mix that in. And that should do. So I do want to make sure that I get most of that coated. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And now I can layer this, and I'm hoping that I have got enough that will go into the bottom of the arms and the legs as well. Scrape every last bit out of my cup, and that looks like it's going where I want it to. So I should have just enough on the shoulders and the top of the thighs. I'm going to let this sit for a while and get a little bit thicker. Then I'm going to tip it so that some of the glitter gets left on the sides. That's all cured now, and it's really pretty. I've got some up the sides because I did tip this while it was still a little bit wet, so that I could actually try and get it to go on the sides. And it has gone in some places, got quite a lot in some places, but not everywhere. So I'm going to try and use some of this. These are some Chameleon Flakes, and I got these from Temu because I can't get hold of the Let's Resin ones here. At least the set that I think is called Intense. Is it Intense? I'm not sure. Anyway, I can't get hold of those, so I tried these from Temu, and they're really nice. I used them in my Sun and Moon plaque. I'll leave a link for that up the top of the screen there in the right hand side, so you can check that out if you want to. Look at those gorgeous colours. So I'm using the foam applicator that came with it just to put some odd dots here and there. I'm not going to be putting a lot of this, but I do want to make sure that it is pressed into the surface of the mould, because otherwise it will lift up when I put the resin in and it will just float around, and I do want it to be on the outside of the resin once it's set. I'm going round and trying not to look like I've just put a blob. I do want it to look like it's kind of in a rock naturally. If you looked at the turquoise stones, you could see there were some inclusions and marks on them, and I'm trying to mimic that only with these flakes. So I want to make sure I've got some everywhere, even in these little toes. Try and pick as much as I can out of my lid. This brush is a little bit thick to get in there, but it's doing okay. Let's try this other leg now. Get some in the toe. I'll pick some up from the pot. That'll do it. And maybe that one. Yeah, that one. Alright, that's not too bad. The trouble with this stuff is it is so pretty that you don't really know when to stop. I don't know when to stop. I just want to cover everything in it. Okay, that's a good chunk there, and that one is looking a little bit too much like a blob, a considered blob, so I'm going to try and carry that a little bit further round. Oh, and I need to do under the chin as well, because I haven't done that. And then I think that's it. Make sure I rub that in. Okay, I think I've got more on the outside of the mould than I have on the inside, but never mind. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and mix up some more resin. So I will be back in a minute. I've mixed up 2 ounces of the craft resin, and I'm going to use this Arteza mica powder in turquoise. Hopefully this will be enough of a colour match for those stones. So I'm wearing PPE and my Resiners air purifier has kicked in, which is why I'm doing this voiceover. I'm going to put a decent amount of the mica powder in and mix that through thoroughly. Make sure that I get all those lumps incorporated. That's good. Now this is still a little too transparent, so I'm going to add some Supreme White pigment. This is from, my packaging says just for you online, but they are Apex Resins now. So I need to give this a good mix because it's been sitting for a little bit. Make sure I get all of that mica, or all of the pigment powder rather, mixed in, and then just scrape off the worst on my stick, and that will be enough. I don't want to eliminate all of the mica powder. If you add a pigment such as white to a mica powder, it takes away that pearlescent shine. You get your colour, but you don't have your pearlescence. So I don't want to eliminate all of that. I do want to keep some of that, but I do just want to make it look a little bit more opaque. So I'm hoping this is enough. Scrape off the last on my stick, and now I can mix this in. Make sure I get all of that off of the edge of the cup. That's looking good. You can still see it's slightly pearly, but it's a little bit more, I want to say thick, but I mean opaque. It's a little bit more opaque. Now I know the frog takes 4 ounces of resin, but I've already put some in here and I have no idea how much I'm going to need to fill this up. So I've done 2 ounces here, but it might be that I need to make up a little bit more. So pour this in, and yep, it looks like I need a little bit more. I was going to do about 2.5 ounces, and that probably would have been the right amount. So I'm just going to mix up 30 ml or so. I'll quickly do that, and then I can add that to the frog and fill it up. So I'm going to fill it up, and I've got a pretty good colour match. Top up all the little toes. Whoops, that was a bit much. So I'm going to use my stick to get into all of those little toes and guide the resin round. And then before I top it up, I want to get any bubbles out from under the hips and under that chin, and top this up. I want it just slightly domed. It's demold time. Now we're going to see whether that repair I made any difference. Can I get this out? I started to demold as normal, and that's fine. But when I got to this hip, it really was pretty stuck. I did persist, and I was worried about breaking the mould again, but I figured nothing to lose, so I yanked it and it was fine, it came off. I didn't have that little patch that I needed to cut off, and the mould didn't break, so it looks like I do have another functioning frog. I love this Chameleon Flake there, and yes, I have got the separation that I wanted between those stones, and you can see the gold glitter through them. Probably would have liked it if it was a little bit more separated, but I think that is really pretty. That gold glitter is to die for. The Chameleon Flakes have given me a more pinky colour than I was looking for. I really wanted it to be a bit more gold, so I'm going to deal with that now. I'm going to bring some of the gold from the glitter down into the rest of the blue, and the way I'm going to do that is to use these chrome markers. I'm using the slightly more coppery chrome marker from J. Diction, and I'm going to use a brush to apply it because the nib is so chunky on this one. So I'm just pouncing this up and down on top of a plastic lid to get some of it to come out. So it's the slightly more coppery one, and then I can use this very thin brush and bring, just following some of the lines that I've already got, to join up where the glitter is or where I've got any of that Chameleon Flake. Just go over the top of it and get them to join up and look like veins. So I'm going to fast forward this and put the music back on. Froggy Friday is a weekly collaboration. It's hosted by Lisa, Girl in the Garage, Karen, The Dragon's Cave, Loula of Nerd Goblin Art, Tim Watkins, Bass Resonator, and Gert Creates. Contact them if you'd like to join. I think that's it. I don't think this needs any more. I'm not going to add a crown or roses. It stands on its own and it's really pretty. Stay tuned for the photographs. If you've liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. It all helps me to bring you content every week. I'd like to thank all my new subscribers, and if you want to be one, click on that QR code and you can join my channel. It's free. Please come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.